The Brewers have one of their stars go down. Another injury for the Milwaukee Brewers. Man, this does not look good. Plus, they lose to the Pirates. We'll get to all this coming up next on this edition of Locked On.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Boy, how many injuries can the Brewers withstand? They just get Christian Yelich back, and, you think things are going to be clicking again with these guys. They just took 3 or 4 from the Cardinals. Rhys Hoskins playing great. 9 home runs, leading the team in homers, and coming up clutch Saturday night, and all that. An important part, as Pat Murphy would say, a pillar on this team. Turns first base and ends up coming up, feeling the grab in his hamstring, the right leg taken out of the game. He'll have an MRI done coming up on Tuesday morning. We'll get to all this coming up next. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Great to talk Brewers baseball with you. Our first place Milwaukee Brewers baseball team. Yes, it's been a great start to the season. Yeah, it's been frustrating at times with the injuries, but we're only at the quarter point. We got a long way to go, and thanks for joining us here tonight on Locked On Brewers, or early in the morning, whenever you download this on Tuesday. But I'm recording this in the middle of the night as we speak. Longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, and you find me on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. Wherever you download a podcast, that's where we are. And, of course, on YouTube, search Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. And, of course, hit me up on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. Yeah, things were going well for the Brewers. They were. Going into tonight's game, 8 games over the 500 mark at first place, weathering all the storm, taking every injury blow that this team has had. Devin Williams, Christian Yelich, Garrett Mitchell, managerial change in the offseason started this whole thing back in November. They've weathered every blow, and here they are, still in first place, and now another blow they're going to have to deal here with Rhys Hoskins. Hamstring injury. He's going to have the MRI, as I mentioned, on Monday. But, of course, anytime you have a hamstring injury, it's not one of those things where he's going to be back in a day or two, whatever it is. Might be an injured list thing. Hopefully not longer. Hopefully, God forbid, it's nothing longer than that. Twofold for the Brewers' sake and Rhys's sake, who's, let's face it, trying to play for his next contract. But, for the Brewers, a productive member of this team, a veteran of this team, a guy who's got playoff experience and knows what postseason is about. And I think, and I've many times gone on the virtues of Rhys Hoskins, wanting to give this guy 4 years, $120 million. Still feeling that way. But the good news with this hamstring is it's the right leg. It's the left leg that he had repaired last year, and he missed all last season. So now it's the right one. And he was thinking, maybe this is something that is a result of me having my other leg repaired. And maybe this is where other teams were fearful of signing Rhys in the offseason, including the Phillies, that if they sign him after coming off the major knee surgery, would other issues crop up down the line? And maybe this is something that other teams saw. I don't know. It's not like the Brewers got $100 million invested in him, but it is a right leg. The big fella, the big guys in general tend to get the more hamstring injuries. Guys who are tightly wound as well get the hamstring injuries. But Rhys, 6'4", 240, big fella, chugging around first base, came up lame, and let's just hope it's not anything long-term. If it's got to be a short stay even a short stay on the injured list, I'm not happy with, but I'll take it. I would rather, let's hope for the better. We'll have this MRI done in the morning. We'll have news on this probably later on in the day. by the time the team reports to the stadium and Pat Murphy talks to the media mid-afternoon or so. You could follow me on Twitter. I'll hopefully sum it up here. But Jake Bauers will be the first baseman for the foreseeable future, obviously. Hit the grand slam on Saturday, on Monday night. Got things close in this game. But, honestly, I felt once it got down to 4-0 that the Brewers were out of this game. They really didn't have much of a shot. They were not going to – sure, they battled. But, the Brewers are throwing out White, Vieira in middle relief there. They did bring in Piamps, who's coming off bereavement. But anytime I see Vieira in the game, I just know if he just walked in the game, no offense to him. The kid's got some potential. He throws in the upper 90s. But, he's not there yet. So when he's in the game, they're either down by 3 or 4 or up by 3 or 4, maybe. And it's not that they're putting in high leverage spots. So he pitched, and he did not have a good night. Bullpen in general, White didn't, Piamps didn't, none of them did coming out of the bullpen. So it was a rough night for the Brewers. Yeah, rallied late, but more importantly than the loss, the potential loss of Rhys Hoskins long-term is what I'm most concerned about here. Talk about Colin Rea's performance. Brian Reynolds is just a beast out there. Man, Brian Reynolds, 5 for 5. 5 for 5 he went. Against the Brewers. Blasted one. He was just really, really good out there. All right. This show is brought to you in part by Policygenius. Policygenius. Life insurance is so important. And I tell my kid when he graduated from college, I'll tell my 12-year-old someday as well, that, one of the first things you should talk about is with your company is life insurance. Now, if you have life insurance, it feels great to be covered. You protect your family and everybody else. But if you don't have life insurance, or if you have life insurance, it may not offer enough protection for your family and needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. You leave your job, you may not have your life insurance come with you. So you need to check in all that. But Policygenius gives you an unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance. They have no horse in the game. They're to help you. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google's from customers who found the best fit for their needs. But check your life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB, or you click the link that's right down here. The link that you see at the bottom of my YouTube page right here, click that on right there, and that's going to help you. When you're done, a little bit later on, or if you want to click it on now, that's fine. You can get free life insurance quotes. See how much you could save. Policygenius.com, Locked On MLB. Try it out. Policygenius, they are there to help you out. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, and I'm helping us all get through a great season through all the injuries and all that. We're coming right back after this timeout here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. It was a late night at the ballpark tonight. Colin Rea, I thought he did his job again. 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 hits, gave a home run. I thought Colin Rea kept his team in the ball game. I'll take 3 earned runs and 6 innings pitched out of Colin Rea. Bullpen kind of let us down, but the offense didn't come around till late, and that actually surprised me. And the Brewers are doing more of that than they have in years gone by. I said, when it was 4-0, it was probably over. That's kind of probably thinking. That's probably the Craig Counsell way of thinking. Well, when he was managing, at least, because you always thought, 4-0, they're not coming back from this. But they have. There was a game earlier this year in Cincinnati. There's been a couple of them where they've rallied and they seem dead in the water and have rallied. And the game against the Cubs at Wrigley a couple of Fridays ago, there was that one. They were down and rallied to win. It was a 1-0 game, but they rallied with 3 in the 8th. And sometimes even 1-0 is a insurmountable to the Brewers in the past. But Mitch Keller did a heck of a job for the Pirates. 6 innings, 8 hits, 7 Ks. He was really tough for the Brewers, and they got to the Pirates bullpen eventually. And I guess the bright spot is the Pirates had to use their closer. So probably the only bright spot of the night. The Pirates had to use their closer. You made them use their closer in the 9th inning. Brian Reynolds, 5 for 5. He is probably my favorite non-Milwaukee Brewer. I don't have many, but I've always looked at Brian Reynolds and say, man, I wish he was at the Milwaukee Brewers. Where would I play him? I'd find a spot to play him. Brian Reynolds, to me, is just great. He's stuck on a bad baseball team. You don't hear a lot from him, but Brian Reynolds is damn good. I just feel like he always blows up the Brewers. Anytime you put on the MLB package, of course, the Pirates are never on national TV either. We can empathize with that, being a Brewer fan. But I feel like the guy's always coming up with clutch hits. Really good. Brian Reynolds, 5 for 5. And, led the attack against the Brewers, 8-6. The Pirates win. They let it, the Brewers made them use their closer, and that was pretty much it. There was not a lot of guts to this one, other than the fact that the Brewers came back late and kind of made it a ball game, fought to the very end. But the Rhys Hoskins injury, this is going to be big for this team. Huge. We'll get to more of that coming up next here. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. The show is brought to you in part by PrizePicks. PrizePicks. How about using a little Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in PrizePicks? That guy had 34 points on Tuesday night. Buddy of mine had the over on that one, but PrizePicks, you can get in all the action with PrizePicks. Baseball, NHL, of course, the NBA, as I was talking about. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the rest of the country take part in watching sports at night and, trying to win some money, watching what we like to watch. But download the app right now. PrizePicks, download Locked On MLB. That first deposit match up to $100. Yeah, $100. PrizePicks even offers injury insurance, so your entries stay in play even if one or more players get injured. For baseball games, you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances or less, PrizePicks will have your back and not count it as a loss. So if he goes up 2 times, comes out of the game, like Rhys Hoskins did, well, then he's done. He's out of the game, and that's a no bet right there. PrizePicks, weekly promotions, special offers. But here's what you need to do. You need to download that app, PrizePicks. Again, you could really multiply the amount of money that you put in and use that promo code LOCKEDONMLB for their first deposit match up to $100 with PrizePicks. This is Chuck Freeman on Locked On Brewers. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman here, late night, early morning on a Tuesday. Jake Bauers will be the new first baseman. He has started 13 to 14 games at first base this year for the Brewers. They've used them in the outfield as well. I get a little nervous when I see Jake Bauers in the outfield. I prefer him at first base. Pretty good defensively, probably better than Hoskins at first base defensively, but offensively, Bauers worked on his stance. Has been working on his stance. He's been doing the toe tap as of late, and it's showing some results for Bauers. But we're gonna have to ride with him. Got him in the offseason. I believe in December they got him, picked him up, and we talked a lot about him in the offseason. We said, hey, are they going to ride with Bauers as their first baseman? They eventually got Hoskins, and Bauers moved into a backup role, and it's been seeing a lot of playing time. And, yeah, he hit the grand slam, seems to be coming around a little bit, and they're going to need him. That's the guy who's going to be the starting first baseman against lefties or righties. I think he's the guy who's going to be in there. We'll see if they have any other options at first base. I like me some Gary Sanchez at first base. I'm good with catcher. I like catchers playing first base. Back in old days of baseball, 70s, you'd always see catchers playing third base as well. Catcher, third base, maybe left field, but first base as well. They've played, and use some Gary Sanchez over at first base. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. It appears like Christian Yelich is not ticketed for first base. I think that decision was made a long time ago. That Yelich has got the bad back. He's coming back from the bad back. He is not going to be one of the options to play first base. So you got a couple of them over there to play first base. But you know what? If Hoskins has got to go on the injured list for a short term, okay. I just hope it's not one of these things where he's got to miss a couple of months, because the Brewers need a guy like that in the middle of their lineup. Okay. They're running on fumes with some of these guys. Some of the guys, Frelick is not hitting. Okay. Perkins snapped an 0 for 25 skid on Monday night with a base hit. Maybe that'll get him going. But to have that guy in the middle of the lineup who can hit you that 3-run bomb like Hoskins did on Saturday night, that's what this team needs. They really need it. So we'll see how this pans out. But the Brewers do lose 8-6 to the Pirates. They got Joe Ross going on Tuesday night. He's coming off 5 innings, 3 runs given up against Kansas City last week, and they need a good one from him. So you got to win the final 2 games of the series to take 2 or 3 before you go on a 9-game road trip that'll find the Brewers going through 3 different cities, and they won't be home until Memorial Day when the Cubs are here. How about that? That's Memorial Day seems such like a long ways away, but after Wednesday, they won't be home until Memorial Day, go on this long road trip. All right, that's going to do it for today. Again, you find me on Google, Spotify, Apple, on all the major downloads. Hit me up on Twitter. Check Freeman, Freimund. And of course, our growing YouTube audience. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That alerts you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Brewers lose 8-6, 2-game skid. Let's get one back tomorrow night and then win the rubber game coming up on Wednesday. So long, everybody. All you everydayers on there, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.